Global Affairs is urging Canadians traveling to the UK to exercise a high degree of caution amid violent demonstrations. It comes after a number of protests in the country by far-right groups, sparked by the spread of misinformation about the identity of a suspect in a stabbing rampage that killed 3 young girls. Joining us now is University of Toronto Sociologist Kayla Preston. Kayla, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate this.
Thank you for having me.
This story is tragic. These riots that followed, all sparked by misinformation. Almost immediately after the attacks, social media posts falsely speculated that the suspect was an asylum seeker. However, police say he was born in the UK and born into the Christian religion. Why has this become so convoluted?
I think it's become so convoluted because we saw a rise in disinformation after the Southport attack. And we also have seen a rise in Islamophobia and xenophobia in the UK over the past 20 years. And so I think it was easy for far-right figureheads to then make these kind of Islamophobic sentiments online after these attacks, making these kind of disinformation, accusatory accusations that ended up being false.
Well, now that the details of the suspect have been clarified, maybe you can tell us a bit about the rioters, what they hope to achieve.
Yeah, so right now it seems that they hope to achieve a kind of discontent. They're trying to dissent over like anti-immigration claims. And so right now it's hard to kind of pinpoint exactly what they're trying to accomplish other than to create terror and a sense of discomfort and fear among members of the UK, especially racialized people and Muslim people right now who are feeling extremely afraid and have had violence enacted towards them.
Do you think this type of rioting has taken away from what happened and taken the attention away from these innocent girls who were killed?
Absolutely. We know that this is different disinformation that was spread online, and it was false. And so there was a tragic event that happened, and this disinformation has taken away from the tragedy of that event and has caused extreme violence in the UK, with rioters attacking other individuals, destroying property, and now looting some businesses and establishments. And a lot of mosques have now been targeted. And so this thing that started out as a tragedy has become even more violent and even more disheartening in the UK.
Absolutely. There's been an uptick in misinformation over the past few years. We really saw this during the pandemic. A lot of people believing what they hear online from unverified sources. Even at the Olympics, 2 women boxers who were born female accused of being trans women, which caused an uproar, all from a rumor started online. How can this spread of misinformation be stopped, if it can?
Because of how social media acts and how anyone can have access to social media, it's really difficult to try to stop the spread of disinformation. What I often kind of tell people is that what's really important now is to understand and have a really grappling towards media literacy. I always tell people to really critically think of the media you're engaging with, the posts that you're interacting with, and see if they're from, credible sources, or if they are from often sometimes far right figureheads, like in the case of the UK riots right now. So I always try to encourage people into what they're consuming and to try to do their own fact checking or rely on media that they can trust and that has been verified.
And speaking of which, this was a far-right group that's rioting. And whether you're far right, far left, or a little bit in the middle, do you feel that people, when they're online, gravitate toward perhaps influencers or those expressing their opinions that resonate with them and their own views?
Yeah. People typically, on the online space is typically an echo chamber. You usually are going to interact with posts and people that you see yourself in or see your own views. However, we also know because of social media algorithms, sometimes people can be accidentally exposed to far-right content without even knowing. And again, this I think also plays into the role of disinformation and misinformation in our society. You might not even realize that you're spreading a false, accusation online because you're not aware of the source that you're getting it from. So while we usually typically engage in content that we agree with, I think there also is this really big problem right now in the online sphere of people being exposed to often far-right content that they may not have initially sought out.
Okay, Kayla, thank you so much for your expertise. That's Kayla Preston, PhD candidate in sociology at the University of Toronto.